hype here, right, Kobe? We got some Europe hype here, right, Kobe?
I'm all aboard. Fnatic. Oh yeah, I'm all aboard. Fnatic.
No matter who did it, is that how we're playing this? All right, because I think no matter who you were a fan of, today was a bit of esports history, absolutely crazy. Let's cast our minds back to the beginning of the day and how the standings were coming into this, because there were a couple of interesting storylines. Would Longzhu go undefeated? Would Immortals win a couple of games and secure that spot that they worked for so hard? Would the Marines do it? Fnatic, nobody was even thinking about them.
I mean, for good reasons, right?
Yeah.
0-3 looked super rough. I think what's funny is to think back to the first two games, especially Immortals, Gigabyte Marines. Had Immortals won that game and Longzhu beaten Fnatic like they did, it was basically locked in stone that Longzhu would be first and Immortals would be second in this group, and Fnatic were just done. But Gigabyte Marines, man, they won the first game. They started a little snowball.
Gigabyte Marines, man, they definitely came to play again, right? At MSI, they impressed everyone. Yet again here at World's group stage, though, what a contender.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. However, they would only win this game today, though. More so, it wasn't.
They peaked last week.
They peaked last week, or maybe that's the way to say it. But this was a fantastic start, and we have to give them credit where credit is due with the innovative picks again, and with Levi going off.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, they had games later where they almost beat Longzhu. They were like 10k gold ahead. The Fnatic game at the end was very close. So Gigabyte Marines are obviously showing they are a very legit team, and they can go toe-to-toe with all the teams from the major regions, which is very impressive considering it's been like the first year, basically, for Gigabyte Marines, and they are still coming from one of the emerging. I think just, fantastic to watch a team have unique strategies, but also sometimes try and play standard and still do fine with it. It's not like they just crumble completely when they don't play these unique strats.
Yeah, but as you said, that's what started the snowball of all the craziness that day. And Kobe, as the NA casters, what happened to Immortals? Maybe starting with that first game, and how did you kind of see them fall throughout the day?
Honestly, there were a lot of mistakes that we were seeing from places that we hadn't seen them from before with Immortals, and then they all kind of culminated here in what felt like an avalanche towards memeing, right? Like North America 0-10. We started out the day as soon as they lost the first game, and we're like, it's not gonna happen, right? And then as it continues, you're like, oh no, it's all going downhill from here. If I had to pick out like one thing at the very beginning, first of all, we were pointing to Pobelter, how well he had played in week 1 and how he had stood up. You feel like that afterwards, but he had been absorbing so much pressure, so much jungle pressure, and not dying and not giving up, a lot of momentum around mid lane there for them. But then this week, the gank started to find effectiveness on him. They got a lot of kills there. But that being said, it was not just one factor. There were so many other factors that compounded to the losses here from Immortals. It came down, in a lot of them, also to late game decision-making, late game mistakes. So
I mean, yeah, I think so. Draft obviously was questionable in some of the games where it's like, why wouldn't you take a Janna here and then ban Talia Galio against Longzhu as an example? And they didn't do that, and it got much harder for them. But one of the concerns I feel like we talked about regarding Immortals coming into this tournament was like, okay, Cody Sun and Pobelter on the world stage, are they good enough to just carry late game team fights compared to some of the other big names we see? And I think today, Pobelter and Cody Sun could not do it. I'm not purely blaming them. There's obviously 5 members on this team, but we didn't have that one game where I felt like, okay, Immortals, they're going to win late game because Cody Sun is like 10-0. He's going off. He's going to carry the team. And I feel like we've seen that from other AD carries already.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be pointed out. We don't want to keep ragging on them, but this is a project of a year, right? They still made it here. They still had a first week, and they're going to have to just take learnings from this, because with the demise of Immortals today came the steady rise of Fnatic, because every time one of those games happened, then the one straight after was Immortals versus Fnatic. So the big question was, can Fnatic now do it? Can they beat Immortals? And can Immortals bounce back? And this is really, for me, where all the craziness began.
This one play, right here, started everything. This game was basically lost. Fnatic would not win late game teamfights unless Immortals made a huge mistake. And that's what happened right here.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different points in that very long play that originated with Immortals having Baron buff and being at the secondary turret there that you can go back and nitpick on. But again, there were so many different things that came together to contribute to each of the individual losses here. And it was definitely heartbreaking for the team and for this organization.
And also, this is then the first game of the tiebreaker set, right? Where Fnatic just rolled over.
Yeah, I mean, this felt lost after like 5-6 minutes into the game when Fnatic had picked up a few kills. They had this super smart Malzahar pick as well from Caps, and it was just like, wow, Fnatic are playing super well at the moment, and Immortals are just kind of falling apart. The Ezreal never really worked for them in the jungle either.
Yeah, I feel like one thing that was maybe over-exaggerated was the mental collapse of Fnatic after week 1. Soaz often, he lets out steam in very public ways, and so everyone's like jumping on this, and like all of the individual players are talking about, yeah, we have a lot of these, background problems and internal problems that are being solved, but whatever they did, at least was whether it was a Band-Aid or not, they were able to get through
tell you,
the meantime between week 1 and week 2.
I asked Soaz, what was it? And he said it was that game versus Immortals. It was that moment in the bottom lane.
Exactly. Like, I know it sounds like a buzzwordy caster narrative, like, oh, momentum and confidence, but we know these guys from Fnatic so well. We've followed this specific team as well for a year now, and it's been always this kind of situation where when things are going wrong for Fnatic, they're losing, confidence drops to a 0, and they have such a hard time climbing out again. Sometimes they need big changes. In Spring Split, the big change was Kennen AD carry and playing this kind of style, because they were actually playing standard and were losing. They changed it up, and it was a big momentum swing, and they've done it again now, and it's fun how one play in one game gives them a win, gives them confidence, and they just roll over the rest.
The Fish Show, as us watching that team so closely in EU, I don't want to get too deep into this, but they pulled it out today. We're going to see in a second how they also beat the Marines in a close game, but Rift Rivals, something that they had to step up to the plate, didn't work out. Playoffs in the end, only at the end did they find their form. Week 1 of groups, worrying trend. I know it's a buzzword as well, but they're going to have to do something to make sure that does not happen again after game 1 of a quarterfinal, or even in this week in between.
I mean, it's a good and it's a bad thing that your team needs a good start to a series, because if Fnatic can win the first game of whatever BO5 they're going to play, that's going to help them a lot. But there's also, of course, the chance that they lose the first game, and it's hard for Fnatic, I think, to fix fix everything, because they are a team that relies on big individual outplays. They will take gambles in the way they're playing, and they will never play a super clean game where it's like this slow macro style we see from other teams. It's fast.
Yeah, I feel like it's just been such a roller coaster of a year for that team. I mean, they're just on ups for most of the regular season. Rift Rivals was down, back up for playoffs. Well, now week 2, at least they're on an upswing, and that's when it matters.
Well, they ended on an upswing. They had that decider game versus the Marines, and obviously a lot of people are also looking at the Marines because it almost looked like they were the best team out of the 3 remaining, but it came down to a very scrappy one where some people, Soaz, Caps, really made their mark.
Yeah, exactly. And Gigabyte Marines sat backstage, watched the Fnatic Immortals game, and probably said, we can beat this guy by playing standard. So they came into this with the most standard draft they've shown all tournament long, actually. And it was very slow in the start, and they were actually falling quite far behind, but they had some of these moments where they could get back.
Yeah, the biggest thing at the beginning was how much Fnatic destroyed bottom lane. Reckless and Jez's absolutely, pushed them out of lane. 7-minute turret or something by themselves in the bottom lane. And then being able to rotate quickly and take all those outer turrets, you felt initially like there's this big swell of momentum for Fnatic again, to reuse your term there. But then Gigabyte Marines had a bunch of plays to get back in the game, and it was very interesting. And yet again, it came down to a lot of these critical moments that will stand out in people's minds. Those big replays, all these 5-on-5s around Baron and such.
Crazy.
And also, it's a game that Optimus will look back at and be very disappointed with himself in, because he had multiple shockwaves missing, times where he had it on like a Maokai who engages and it comes back on his own head, and he ends up ulting himself or misses in the last team fight. And those are the big moments you just need to be able to execute on if you want to win a game like this and move to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, so I said in the final interview, it's almost better. We played without really expecting ourselves to go through, and we played game after game, and in the end they came up clutch, and they did it. So let's take a look at the final standings, because that other thing we mentioned at the top of the day, that did happen. Longzhu is undefeated, and it's easy to get lost in the story of the day, but we have to give some props to that team for coming in. Prey for playing like an absolute monster today and looking like an absolutely daunting candidate in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, every single person on that team, they even included the substitute in their last game versus Immortals, and still were able to go 6-0.
Exactly, and you look at a team with great shot calling, good drafts, some of the best individual players in the world, and again, you have that little setup like SKT have shown multiple years before this that can obviously go all the way and win the entire tournament. So them being 6-0 is not a surprise, I think, for anyone. And it just shows like how dominant they are. Like Prey's stats in that game with 1500 damage per minute, like that's absolutely insane. But also like I want people to go back and look at the team fights. Not a single person is at any moment even close to touching him. He just stands there and he just fires away the entire fight with Hurricane. And he's like, yep, this is the easiest fight of my life.
Yeah, we was talking about how much time Cody-san was spending trying to evade people and running around in circles. Prey was auto-attacking every second of every team
You're comparing like a rookie on the world stage.
No, but it's also about the comp, right? You have a Janna protecting you as a Varus, and the enemy team has no backline threats, while Cody-san is being chased down by 3 guys on Longshu.
Yeah, it's all in the compositions as well, but fantastic by them. I feel like you guys are being, for an NA caster and an EU caster, very civil and factual about the drama that unfolded here today.
Oh, we were dancing. Oh, I was dancing around before the camera came on here. And the thing is,
what drama? I don't see no drama here.
No, exactly. Like I'm not going to say anything. Fnatic won. That's already enough.
True. Let's take a look at the schedule because let's see what happens tomorrow, because we have another European team that is in peril, and they start versus RNG. We have an RNG that is looking absolutely strong. Samsung with some question marks, so we'll see what happens there. Maybe FENERBAHCE is upset. What do you guys think on tomorrow?
I'm super excited for tomorrow's games. RNG are actually looking really good, and especially watching their games in the stadium with the Chinese crowd. Yeah. Every single little play gets the biggest reactions. And they're performing so well right now that I really think they have an extremely good shot at getting out of this group.
It's a really good meta. Obviously, Uzi in the late game can carry fights. Samsung, I'm kind of sad they didn't lose more games in the first week. Like, they should have lost that game against...
Because you want G2 to have a better standing.
Yeah, because I wanted G2 to have a chance, right? But Samsung is the kind of team who now will get exposed. They have a week to fix it. They will have another week, most likely, if they make it out of groups, to fix it for quarterfinals. So they probably will be fine. I'm actually not too concerned about them. And I think it might end up just being G2 not making out of this group, because I think Samsung will look better than week 1, and I think RNG will continue looking good. So
you're calling RNG and Samsung, are you calling RNG first seed?
I'm saying RNG first.
Colby?
We could very well have some more tiebreakers from this group as well, but that is what I put on actually, on my pick'ems, it was RNG and G2, I think.
Damn, no Samsung.
Wow.
I think that's
just crazy. No, yeah. We'll see tomorrow. Maybe all the magic has been used up today. Fnatic was a 3rd seed, by the way, coming out of Europe, and they did a miracle run. We'll see what happens tomorrow, but I feel like it will be more along what we expect, but we never know.
I mean, this is a harder group with G2, Samsung, and RNG, and of course FENERBAHCE in it. So I think there's a higher chance that Samsung and RNG just show up and look really good and make it out. But obviously G2 were very close already to picking up some more wins. And if they win the first game against RNG, it's wide open.
Yeah, they both advanced from a very similar group last year, so could very well be the same 2 teams.
We'll see what happens. I just hope that all the craziness keeps going and we get as many exciting games as we did today, because it has been great. We're going to have to take not only a quick break, we're just going to take the night off, obviously, and come back tomorrow and be refreshed and watch another 6, maybe 8, maybe more games. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Over the next 4 days, our competitors will fight to secure their spot in the quarterfinals, starting today with the teams in Group B.
Legends never die. The
ulti's not going to be in range for Levi. Flashes to get in, but the damage going to be low. Still gets him anyway. Blue smite. They might have the burst damage, but Fear Beyond Death not quite going to come through. No, it is. He's going to eat him. But he's going to get the kill. He's going to get the share of 5. The Baron goes down, picked up. Now Cody's son, but he's up against Barrier. Only picks up 1 kill. Urgot cannot die. He will not be stopped. And this will be Gigabyte Marines improving 2-2. Connor really wants this battle. So is running out of health. Pops going to look for the trade, but here comes Redemption. It's going to be the kill. Ray Hurricane on. He wants them all. He's got 1 so far. Jess is next up on the block. The flash forward, a double kill.
Still substantially faster than the group stage average. Longju take the fight, take it home.
This is the game. Last game didn't happen. If we win this, we're in it.
Gremlin's going to come in and Brock's going to kill credit that one. And the flash bar comes in. The insect betrays his teammate. And it's going to be the ace for Fnatic.
Hit the Nexus. Hit the Nexus.
Oh. They got it again. Fnatic 1-4, they knocked down Immortal. good to be true. Longju find their way back here. Fnatic leap forward. Broxah gets the kill on the Kane, and everybody's flashed in. Archie, the only one left, as Broxah finds the final execute with the ulti. They needed to win, and they have done it.
You're now seeing the late game differences, the late game value between
God.
Janna and Lulu.
That has to be a record. That is insane from Prey. Cody caught by a Raptor. That's going to be it. Fnatic push through, take down the Nexus, and look to make world history.
Nice, guys. One more game.
So is Mega. Needs to avoid it, but he got the double kill. No way. Still fighting him, but Doc with the Mega. Cat. Shockwave. No.
Kill Arena, kill Arena! No,
End the game. Fnatic do the unthinkable and make their way to the quarterfinals.
we have to go 3-0 to secure making it out of groups.
Uzi is cutting through G2. Perks get out for free, but it's G2 who pay the price.
It's gonna be important to stay mentally strong and try and make it all the way.
I think we stood a good fight, but we did a lot of mistakes and we paid for them.
How cruel would this be after how well 1907 FENERBAHCE has played?
If we can improve ourselves, I think we have a good chance at taking our revenge.
因为我们是5个中国人嘛，如果我们可以在世界赛取得好成绩的话，我想我们都会很骄傲的。
我上我也是，我恭喜2대0
올라갈 수 있을지도 의문이고 떨어질 수도 있을 것 같고.
2주차 목표는 작년을 재현하는 거예요. 그냥 2주차부터 결승 갈 때까지 한 번도 지고 싶지 않아요.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the beautiful city of Wuhan, host of the World's 2017 Group Stage. With our quarterfinalists being decided yesterday, the pressure is now on teams in Group C to advance to the knockout stage. The fans have packed this arena to the brim as the 3-0 RNG take to the stage today. The LPLs hope to challenge those other undefeated Korean teams. G2, of course, Sven and the rest of the crew unloading into the arena. More shots of the fans here. Plenty of passion to fill this room. Hello, everyone. I'm James Ash Patterson, joined by Indiana Frosker in black, Chris Papa Smithy Smith, and Joshua Jat Leesman. Yesterday was an insane 8-game day. Have you guys gotten some rest, reset? You ready to go for today?
Absolutely. We came in for the final leg of the cast yesterday. 8 games. We'd never had a 3-way tiebreaker in a group stage for the World Championship. It happened yesterday, and there's an outside chance it happens again today.
Well, I agree with you, Jack. I was hopped up right at the end because of the intensity, because of how many games we went. Trying to calm down, but today is going to be crazy too.
What a way to start the week. Yesterday we saw some dramatic fights in Group B as Fnatic managed to pull off a historic comeback to qualify for the knockout stage after 2 tiebreaker games against Immortals and the Gigabyte Marines.
And that's the thing, they started week 1 0-3, but they effectively came back from an 0-4 deficit to then march through, win 4 more games, win the tiebreakers, and take their spot in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, and something that made that entire crazy day possible with the 3-way tie 2-4 was Immortals losing all of their games. It was a really bad day for Immortals and North America in general. Flashbacks to 2015 where they went 0-10 in the second week after a 6-3 first week. There were the beginnings of that, so it was not a good day for Immortals, to say it like that.
And the 8-game day started with a possibility of the first 2 games deciding everything. But Gigabyte Marines, they came back in. They won our hearts again with them showing they could take down Immortals. And they started a cascade of crazy that led to the insane day.
Lucky for NA, we don't play today. But let's talk about this Gigabyte Marines squad and what they have done here at Worlds. One of the most exciting teams to watch.
Yeah, huge congratulations to the Gigabyte Marines. Yes, they dropped. They didn't get to make their march towards the quarterfinals, but they have just done so much between this year, MSI and Worlds. Huge shout out to their coach Tenakun. Everything this gold. This was also the coach on Bangkok Titans when they made their IWCQ run. So he has a proven track record. He's shown it now at Worlds, and I can't wait to see what he has next.
And while we say goodbye to them on the same day, Longzhu continued their winning streak to go 6-0 in the group stage. LCK champions are looking to keep their form going into the quarterfinals here.
And they're doing it a bit of a different way. They did it in the LCK. LCK, Khan was the man. We always talked about him, the top lane focus. Turns out that if you give shields and resources to Prey, he'll do the same thing. He can be that big carry. And to me, he's been a step above even the other great 80 carries we have here at Worlds.
Well, after yesterday's results, Fnatic will be advancing from Group B along with the first seed, Longzhu. Turning to Group C, though, which will be decided today, Royal Never Give Up are sitting on top after going undefeated last week.
Yeah, and only 6% of the pick'em brackets are actually still alive after the crazy results that we had yesterday, and that probably will get a little bit thinner after today.
I know mine got destroyed. Yeah. It was looking good after week 1, and then
you are
yesterday.
not the 6% Dash.
No, I am not the 6%. But Royal Never Give Up. They can clinch a spot in the knockout stage today with their first clash against G2 ESPORTS. If they lose, however, their road does become a bit harder.
And this is the thing, RNG have come out swinging, looking very dominant, but today I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit. I think today might be the day that they get figured out.
Yeah, and it's going to be so tricky because as we saw yesterday, and I think we've seen a lot in Week 2 of Worlds, how you show up on the day and how you start the day matters so much because you do not have very long to recover, and I haven't even seen that much improvement or fall off from teams between game to game in these 3-game days.
And as a reminder, each team from Group C will play 3 games, with the 2 quarterfinalists being decided by the end of the day. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at today's contenders, though, starting with the LPL's Royal Never Give.
Sure. RNG are clearly very good. The thing about Chinese teams specifically is I always watch, and I feel like these teams are always hyped coming
Let's go ahead and take a
World,
closer look
and you
at
see
today's
them at
contenders,
World,
though,
and you see
starting with the LPL's Royal Never Give.
RNG are clearly very good. The thing about Chinese teams specifically is I always watch, and I feel like these teams are always 35
take a closer look at today's contenders, though, starting with the LPL's Royal Never Give.
RNG are clearly very good. And suddenly I feel up and down. Chinese teams specifically is I always